So there are two guys standing on a high bridge over a river, relieving themselves. One turns to the other and says, "Man, the water sure is cold." The other guy says, "Yeah, and it's deep too." Now, this old joke best sums up the whole long tenon versus short tenon on Gibson Les Pauls that you'll find on the internet. And boy, what a shit show those discussions can turn into. Not since the debate of, "You got peanut butter in my chocolate," no, "You got chocolate in my peanut butter," where you find such venom and anger. So what's this all about, the uninitiated would say? Well, again, let's take a plunge down the Gibson rabbit hole and take a look. So in the 1950s, Gibson electric guitars were constructed with long neck tenons. No, not that kind of long necks. It wasn't until mid-75 that the short tenon, aka the rocker tenon, came about. Now, between those years of the 60s and the mid-70s, there was something called the trans tenon. But let's not get into that here. Again, in the cost-cutting times of the 1970s, Nolan era, they decided that it was far more cheaper and far more easier to construct their Gibson USA guitars with a short neck. You see, it takes more time and money to manufacture a guitar with a long neck tenon. And by the time the custom shop opened in the mid-90s, they figured out that they can charge a premium to the cork sniffers who look down on any Les Paul that is not historically correct. I wonder how many female guitar players care about the tenon size. I'm sure they say it doesn't matter long or short, it's the motion of the fingers that counts. Or at least that's what guys with short neck tenons think they would say. So if this isn't confusing enough, an interesting note is that between 2008 and 2013, the USA standards got something called a keyhole tenon. And Gibson paraded this as the largest neck tenon in the history of Les Pauls. Then they went right back to the short neck tenon. Huh? Now, why is a long neck tenon so important to guitarists, you ask? Well, it has to do with a scientific principle called the cantilever beam scenario. Now, this is a definition. Oh, screw it. Basically, a long neck tenon gives more surface contact with the body of the guitar, and thus a better tone through sound transference from the neck to the body, and a better integrity of the joint. So, what's the long and short of it, so to speak?
This is a really interesting argument. And it's really got nuances to it as well, because you have the custom shop guys, long tenon, Les Paul, saying that their guitars are just as good as the vintage burst. Then you've got the standard USA guys, short neck tenon, saying our guitars are just as good as the custom shop. Then you have the Epiphone guys, some short neck tenon, some long neck tenon, saying that their guitars are just as good as the standard USA Les Paul models. The truth of the matter is that it doesn't matter. What matters is if you never open up that neck pickup and take a look inside and see whether it's a long tenon or short tenon, if the guitar spoke to you and it plays good and it sounds good to you, then that's the way to go. It comes from the hands and the heart. That's what you should be doing, not the marketing hype, not the the arguments. Although, where do I stand on this? Well, actually, honestly, I do think that the long neck tenon guitars are superior. Why do I say that? Well, remember, the manufacturing process in order to make those guitars back from '52 on until the mid-'70s was to use a long neck tenon because it was engineered that way. They engineered it that way because they decided it had the best sound to it. It wasn't until the mid-'70s when the rocker tenon, the short neck tenon, was introduced. And again, it was the number crunchers who introduced this. They realized that this was a far less expensive manufacturing process in order to make these guitars. And so, of course, they went for it. Now, again, a guy like Joe Bonamassa, who, by the way, his Epiphone line, all of those have long neck tenons in them, would tell you that there is dogs from the burst period as much as there are dogs from the Nolan period, as much as there's dogs now. And it was irregardless, there's no such word as irregardless, regardless of whether it had a short or a long neck tenon in it. Of course, people have a preference. But don't let that preference stop you from buying a great sounding guitar. If you pick up a guitar at a shop and it plays and sounds good to you, again, don't look under the hood. Just say, don't pick up that neck pickup. Just say to yourself, hey, I like this guitar. It sounds good to me. It plays good to me. I'm going to go for it. And that, at the end of the day, will kill all of these arguments. It just throws every one of those out the window, because it really speaks to the guitar speaking to you. So next time you make a guitar purchase, don't get caught up in this hype about long or short neck tenon. Get caught up into how does it feel to you. And probably at the end of the day, you'll find out that, it didn't really matter in the end. Hey, Randy Rhodes, one of my favorite guitar players, hey, he had a short neck tenon, custom, from the 70s. I don't think anybody would say that his playing was, particularly bad. Ace Frehley, another rock sound that I like. Short neck tenon. Don't think that he was really worried about that. So, again, you guys, thank you for taking the time to watch the show. Until the next one, don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to comment. And if you really like what you're seeing on this channel, take the time to subscribe. I'll see you next one.